So now I will ask Holly if she would like to introduce our next guest speaker, Janet Brown. I can't hear you, Holly.
I had to click it twice, I guess. So good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to announce our next speaker, Janet Brown, who for many years was a professional nurse in a lot of different areas of medicine. And since retirement, she's kept extremely busy helping to protect Dog and Cranberry lakes, which is closer to the bottom end of the Cataraqui River system. She is currently the chairperson of the Water Quality Committee and has been doing lots of projects, especially over the last 5 years that I know about anyway, when I've become more involved with that particular group. Really proud of all of the things that they have accomplished and the things that they are looking to accomplish. And I'm excited to hear what Janet has to say to us today. Thanks, Janet.
Thank you, Holly. I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting. I'm just going to talk a little bit about lake associations and their engagement with other organizations. The first part of my talk, I'm just going to go over some of the research findings that Nathan was talking about with Christine Baudouin and Isha Mistry's research, and then I'll talk about what the Dog and Cranberry Lakes Association, how we've sort of been trying to incorporate that into the way we operate. So Christine Baudouin and Isha Mistry, they undertook research to understand public and community consultation and engagement and co-governance on the Rideau Canal and the Trent waterway systems. So they not only did the survey, which Nathan Young was talking about, but they did interviews, workshops, consultations, and community meetings. So one of the questions that they asked were about activities on the lake. And what people were responded that boating was certainly number one, along with swimming, fishing, paddling, and walking. Those were sort of the top activities that people were enjoying on these waterways. They asked a lot about private development. A lot of people, most people were against development. However, they were okay with development if the municipal rules were followed by the developers. However, most respondents did not know exactly what the rules were. So there's a bit of a gap. You heard about blue-green algae being one of the highest environmental threats for most respondents. They also found difficulties with communication and participation between governments. Development, and the stakeholders. The stakeholders being the people that were living on the lake. Certainly, they found that the conservation authorities were important for bringing all levels of different organizations together. So, as Nathan Young said, their analysis of their data is not complete. However, their initial conclusions were as follows. So they really found that people want more enforcement of developmental regulations. They found that grassroots organizations, such as our lake associations, need to collaborate more with municipal governments. They also found that it was important to have regular meetings vertically and horizontally. So regular meetings within an organization and regular meetings with different organizations. Certainly more academic research is needed. And they found that it was very helpful to share stories within a community. So sharing your stories about your escapades on the lake certainly created a sense of community within an organization. So that's basically some of their initial findings and some of the things that our organization could take and sort of incorporate them into the way that we operate. So one of our first initiatives was to work with the Cataraqui Conservation Authority, and specifically Holly Evans, and we arranged a meeting with scientists, municipal planners, lake associations, people from the Ontario Environmental Ministry, university students, public health, and Parks Canada. This was before COVID, so this was an in-person meeting. We had discussions about watershed conditions, what available information is out there, what is the ongoing research in our area, and what are some of the roles and responsibilities of ministries, planners, septic inspectors. So the meeting was very successful. It allowed us to make connections with people, face-to-face connections, and exchange contact information for ongoing communications, which have been ongoing. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to have another in-person meeting because of COVID, but we'd like to in the future. One of the connections we made was with Queen's University, an academic from Queen's University who does research in water quality. We've since partnered with him and his PhD students, and we raised over $10,000 through our membership for a nutrient budget study on our lakes. We also met with Christine and Isha, and we participated in their research project, which I was talking about at the beginning. We had long been advocating for more regular meetings with our township, which is South Frontenac. And because normally we had been only meeting once a year. And the South Frontenac Council decided to set up a committee of representatives from lake associations called the South Frontenac Lake Ecosystem Advisory Committee. They also set up a grant program of $35,000 a year for projects that can demonstrate benefits to lake ecosystems. So we have met to set up the Lake Ecosystem Grant Program. We have gone over grant applications, and we have given input for the development of the long-term plan that South Frontenac is currently looking into and developing. Within our organization, we've been adapting to COVID, which has really given us an opportunity to reach more people. And the way we've been doing that is with emailings. We usually have at least twice a month emailings to people to keep them up to date on our activities, as well as activities that they can participate in. We've had several Zoom meetings with experts in areas that are of interest to our members. And these have included things like we did a Zoom meeting on ticks, and we did a Zoom meeting on shoreline buffer zones. We do a yearly quick survey to see what our members are interested in, and then we try to follow it up with an event. We are looking for research money, and we're writing grants for projects on our 2 lakes. Currently, we will be doing a floating treatment wetlands project next summer, and we plan to start a nutrient budget study with the researcher from Queen's University. We are participating in the Love Your Lakes program. Cranberry Lake was surveyed this summer, and Dog Lake will be done next summer. We also participate in the Lake Partners water testing program, and we survey, we take water from 3 sites on the lake, and we do it 6 months out of the year. So looking forward, our association would like to involve more farmers, because we have farms that border our lakes, fishermen, fishing derby people, and we would like to involve them more in our organization. We would also like to encourage local businesses become members, because we want to expand our association to include the whole community, not just the people that are living on the lake. We also want to set up a lane stewardship program for better dissemination of information both ways. So coming from people around the lake, and also as a way for us to get information to those people. As well as our ongoing research. We're really quite keen on looking for money to do research projects. So in conclusion, I really think that research can be an amazing guide for us and a way to get people involved and participating and excited about caring for their lake, their property, and their community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. Really appreciate having you today. That was some great information, and it's so exciting to see all the awesome things that your lake association has been doing and how you guys have amalgamated the two lakes, and it's just so great to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Holly, did you want to say something?
No, not necessarily. I was just trying out the applause button. That's all.
Oh, okay. I thought you had your hand up.
It's a great job. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Great. Monica, were there any questions in the chat?
There was a question just asking how you're doing with Lake Association membership.
I think what we're finding now, we have a Facebook page, and we have about 100 people on our Facebook page, and yet we only have 60 people that are members. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. So right now we're trying to figure out, okay, obviously people are interested in the Facebook page, they post and all the rest of it. How do we get them to join our organization? And we're working on it. I don't think we've come up with any magic formula yet, but we are working on it. We're also, Nathan was mentioning about getting younger people involved. And I know Watersheds Canada has a program for getting children involved with the lakes and environment. And I know that we're participating in that in the hope that we can get some families on our lake with children involved in the Watersheds program, and then, you know, hopefully it'll disseminate through word of mouth.
Awesome.
For sure. A couple more questions have come in. So there's one asking if your lake association is a registered charitable organization able to issue tax receipts.
No, we're not a registered charitable organization, but we have been working with Cataraqui Conservation Authority to be able to accept donations, and then people can use that as a tax deduction. So it's sort of a way around that without going to the charitable status.
Right. The next one is just wondering what the extent of youth are represented in your association, which you kind of just touched on, but maybe you can speak about that a bit more, just how you're trying to connect with youth in the lake association.
Connect with other lake associations?
With youth living on your lake?
Oh, with youth. We've been trying to get newer, younger people with families that are resident on our lake. We have more permanent residents on our lake involved, especially on our board. I think the problem that they have is that, you know, they're usually two parents who are working full time and they've got children and their lives are very busy, and it's very difficult to get them on our board. That's why we're sort of trying to go to this lane steward model, where we would have a steward on a lane who would know everybody. And maybe that's a role that younger families and younger parents could do, because it wouldn't take up as much time. They're already meeting with their neighbors anyway. It would just be a matter of us connecting with them maybe once a month and saying, hey, what's going on in your lane? Do you have any information for us? Or could you get this out to your neighbors? So it might be a smaller role, not as much time, but it might get more people, more of our younger working families involved.
Perfect. There are some more questions in the chat, but I want to be respectful of the agenda. So Janet, if you don't mind just looking through the chat and seeing if there are any other questions that you're able to answer. And Barb is also going to share the results from the poll that we launched a little while ago.
Can you see those results? I pressed the share button. So yeah, it's interesting going through the poll, so you can kind of see where people are calling in from. And so we have a lot of people here from Eastern Ontario, but you know, being online, we're able to reach some new audiences. So it was kind of neat to see we even have a couple of American friends and some people from, you know, Western provinces. And, you know, as we talk about engaging youth and, you know, other stakeholders, you know, kind of looking at the results around, you know, what people represent. So you can see here, and this is fairly typical at Lake Links, that we do get a lot of people from lake associations and NGOs. We often get, you know, municipal staff, elected officials. We do have one person here today, but I think that's an audience we want to engage, you know, more people in the future as well. And students and youth. So, you know, you can kind of see that this, you know, falls in line with our first presentation in terms of engagement. So anyways.
Thank you. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Janet. We loved having you as part of Lake Links. And we will get you your bottle of maple syrup. Great. So we're going to move on.